Hello chess lovers, Soren here, and in today's video I want to share with you the 14th game of 1978 Tal vs Kasparov friendly blitz match. Up to this point, after 13 rounds, we have an equality, both players have 6.5 points. We are good to go with the last game where Kasparov had white pieces and he opened up with e4, to which Tal answered with Sicilian defense. A sharp opening which is never boring and always leads to an entertaining battle. Bishop g5 e6, queen d2. Kasparov is choosing the aggressive Richter-Rauser attack. a6, white castled queenside. If you remembered earlier, in the second game of the same match, we have already seen this position, where again Tal was on the black side, and in that game he chose Bishop d7 followed by b5 continuation. In this game we see Bishop d7 only after h6. White bishop retreated on e3 and Bishop d7. f4, b5. Black is already starting to advance on the queen side. Bishop e7, king b1, queen c7. Black is first taking under control the e5 square, not allowing any e5 moves by white, and only then is going for castling kingside. h3, white is preparing a kingside pawn storm. Meanwhile, an exchange of knights on d4 followed b4. Tal is not giving his young opponent time for an attack. e5, a nice way of neutralizing this dark squared bishop. At the same time, black is opening up the light squared bishop's diagonal. Bishop f2, a5. There comes the a pawn. a4, g5, h takes g5, h takes, h takes g5, knight h5, h4, b3. Already black pawns are reaching white's castle, and now the king has to be very careful. c takes b3, a takes b3, knight c3. Well, white could also play a3, but probably Kasparov was afraid of later attacks from dark squared bishop. Usually in such positions black is either sacrificing the rook on a3 or the bishop. That's why Kasparov chose a different continuation and played knight c3, from where the knight can also jump on d5. b takes a2 check, king a1. This pawn on a2 serves as a nice defensive shield, and white king feels pretty secure behind that pawn. Bishop e3, rook c8, bishop e2, knight f4, and white won black's e-pawn. Although could play rook f1, rook f4, because soon you are forced to move back your queen back on the second rank in order to protect the pawn on b2. Rook c1, bishop d8. Meanwhile, from a5, d8 diagonal, black is switching the bishop into the attack. Knight goes on d5. An exchange of rooks on c1 followed. So first I will go through the game and then we'll turn on stockfish and we will stop on key moments. Queen c2, rook c8. A terrible mistake which is losing. At this point you can give a try to find the winning line for white. Ready? The winning move is queen takes c8, but we will come back to this a little bit later. I hope that you managed to find it. Instead we see queen d1 move by Kasparov. An exchange of rooks on c1 followed. Queen b3, bishop c4, queen g3, bishop takes a2, and in return black is starting to pick up white's kingside pawns. F takes g6, bishop b3, queen takes e4, knight f6 check, g takes f6, queen c8 check, king g7, and in return white is winning black's light squared bishop. King h6, bishop b3, queen e5. A mistake which is allowing white to equalize. Better was queen e7, but instead we see queen e5, and after check, king g7, queen d7, the players agreed to draw. Even yeah, white is just giving a perpetual check. So what I want to do right now is to turn on Stockfish, and then we will go through the game while the beast is on, although this is not that correct to analyze these type of positions with engine's accuracy, because let's not forget that this was a blitz game. So rook takes c. Anyways, rook takes c1 was played in the game, but the move which could really allow black to hold the initiative was bishop a5. Instead, Tal went for an exchange of rooks, and only then played bishop a5, queen c2, rook c8. And yes, this is that critical moment where I asked you to stop the video and find that winning line for white. The move is queen takes c8, and what is interesting, in his book Nikitin writes that later Kasparov told him that he actually saw this line but decided not to beat his opponent. In that case, by winning the last game, Kasparov could really win the match, and instead chose a more humble queen d1 continuation, which leads to an equality. So let's take a look how this queen c8 check is winning. If bishop takes c8, then rook takes c8 check. Now if queen takes c8, then this is simple, a royal fork is winning, and in case of king h7, bishop g4 is winning. Check, check, checkmate can be a threat, and if f6, then bishop f5 check anyways, g6, knight takes f6, and again the rook together with his minor pieces are managing to finish up black king. Yeah, you have to give up your queen. Now instead in the game we see queen d1, but that was a very nice line, right? Yeah. So after queen d1, an exchange of rooks on c1 followed, and in the end there is a moment where black could really turn the table, you know. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's go through this line a bit faster, this part of the game a bit faster, and yeah, okay, so where is white making a mistake? Turns out that this knight f6 check is allowing black to gain advantage, and better was queen c6. Instead we see queen, after queen takes e4 we see knight f6 check, and now yeah, black is gaining advantage, although at this point after bishop b3 Tal is making a mistake and is playing queen e5, which is allowing Kasparov to give a perpetual check. The move which wins is queen e7, covering the f8 square to the 7th rank, thus preventing unpleasant checks, and yeah, and then black can give a try to make use of the passed pawns. Of course, winning this position requires some technique. Also, I have no idea how much time the players, especially Tal, had on the clock, but he could really win the game, right? This was a golden opportunity. Instead we see queen e5, and very quickly the players agreed to a draw. So this is it, dear chess lovers. After 14 rounds, both players earned 7 points, and we have a draw. The match between former world chess champion 40-year-old Mikhail Tal and 15-year-old Garry Kasparov. The rising star Garry Kasparov ends in a draw. From psychological point of view, this was a very nice lesson for Kasparov. This match gave him confidence, and he learned that once he's managing to draw against such a bright, powerful blitz player as Mikhail Tal, he has all the chances of moving forward, and yes, for him this was a great lesson. Again, this was a blitz match, friendly match. Too many mistakes were made, especially from Mikhail Tal's side. He really missed so many opportunities, but yeah, this is what happens in blitz. Blunders are all there waiting to be made, and that's it. So we're finishing the coverage of this match. Thanks a lot for your interest, for following this match that carefully. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.